I'd been Stefano Ricci's personal assistant for 11 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days. I knew this because I counted every single one. Counted the days I'd spent watching him command boardrooms. Counted the mornings I'd handed him espresso and our fingers had brushed. Counted the nights I'd gone home aching with want for a man I could never have. Because he was my boss, and I was his assistant. And those were lines you didn't cross. Until the morning, everything changed. I arrived at the office at 8 a.m., the way I always did. Stefano's espresso in one hand, double shot, no sugar, the specific blend from the cafe 3 blocks away that he preferred, my tablet in the other, already reviewing his schedule. Meetings with the design team at 9, lunch with investors at 1, call with the Singapore office at 4. I was nothing if not prepared. Being Stefano Ricci's PA meant anticipating his needs before he knew he had them. It meant being perfect, professional, and completely invisible despite spending 12 hours a day 3 feet from him. It meant suppressing every inappropriate thought I'd ever had about my boss. His office door was closed when I arrived, which was unusual. Stefano was always at his desk by 7:30, door open, already working. I set down his espresso on my desk, pulled up his morning briefing on my tablet, and knocked. Enter. His voice was different. Quieter than usual. Colder. I pushed open the door and stopped. He was standing by the windows, his back to me, hands in his pockets. The morning light caught on his perfectly tailored Tom Ford suit, the Patek Philippe on his wrist. From behind, he looked like any other CEO, powerful, controlled, untouchable. But I'd learned to read him in 11 months. The set of his shoulders was wrong. Too rigid. Too tense. Good morning, Mr. Ricci. I kept my voice professional, steady. You're 9 a.m. with the design team. Close the door, Lucia. He still hadn't turned around. My stomach dropped. He never used my first name. Always Ms. Marino. Always professional. Always maintaining that careful distance between us. I closed the door with a soft click. Is something wrong? I asked carefully. He turned to face me, and the expression on his face made my breath catch. I'd seen him angry before, at incompetent employees, at delays, at anything that threatened his empire. But this was different. This was cold fury, barely contained, directed at me. You tell me. He moved to his desk, picked up something, then slid it across the polished surface. Are these wrong? Photographs. Professional quality, time-stamped, surveillance level clear. Me having dinner with Marco Benedetti last night at Ristorante Luna. Me looking uncomfortable as Marco reached across the table. Marco walking me to my car. Marco trying to kiss me, getting my cheek when I turned my head. Oh, God. My hands started shaking. Sir, I can explain. Don't. He held up one hand, his jaw ticking in that way it did when he was controlling his temper. Don't say anything yet. First, we're going to have a conversation with Marco. He pressed the intercom on his desk. Marco Benedetti. My office. Now. Mr. Ricci, please, this isn't. Sit down, Lucia. His eyes met mine, dark and unreadable. That's not a request. I sat in one of the chairs facing his desk, my mind racing. How did he have these photos? Who had been following me? Why did he care who I had dinner with? 2 minutes later, Marco knocked and entered, his usual confident smile in place. He was handsome in that obvious way. Perfectly styled hair, expensive suit, charm that worked on most people. It had never worked on me. Sir, you wanted to. Marco stopped when he saw me, then the photos on the desk. The confidence crumbled. I can explain. Can you? Stefano's voice was dangerously soft. He picked up the photos, held them up. Did I hire you to date my personal assistant? The way he said my personal assistant made something hot coil in my stomach. Possessive. Claiming. Sir, Lucia and I were just. Did I hire you to date my personal assistant? Stefano interrupted, each word precise and cutting. No, sir. Then explain these. He tapped the photos. Explain why you're pursuing a woman who works directly for me. Explain why you think you have the right to touch what's mine. The last words hung in the air. What's mine? Marco's eyes widened. Mine did too. Yours, Marco said carefully. Sir, I didn't realize you and Ms. Marino were involved. We're not. Stefano's jaw ticked again. But she's my assistant. My responsibility. My employee. Which means she's off limits to everyone in this company. Especially you. I watched, frozen, as Stefano moved around his desk with that predatory grace I'd admired for 11 months. He was taller than Marco by 2 inches, broader by 30 pounds, and infinitely more dangerous. You pursued her, Stefano said quietly. Despite knowing she works for me. Despite her obvious discomfort in these photos. Despite the fact that pursuing your boss's personal assistant is grounds for immediate termination. Sir, please. You're fired. 2 words. Flat. Final. Security will escort you out. Your severance, there isn't one. You have 30 minutes to clear your desk. Marco's face went white. You can't. I can. I just did. Stefano pressed the intercom again. Security to my office. Within minutes, Marco was gone. Escorted out by 2 large men in suits, his career at Ricci Industries over. And I was alone with Stefano. You had me followed. I found my voice, though it shook. Those photos are surveillance quality. You had someone following me. Yes. He moved back to his desk, braced his hands on it, and stared at me with an intensity that made my skin flush. You've been distracted for 3 weeks. Stressed. Afraid. You think I didn't notice? I notice everything about you, Lucia. The way he said my name made my stomach flip. So, I had my security team make sure you were safe, he continued. Imagine my surprise when instead of discovering a threat, I discovered you having dinner with one of my senior account managers. It wasn't what it looked like. No. His eyes were dark, dangerous. Because it looked like Marco Benedetti trying to kiss you. It looked like him touching what doesn't belong to him. I don't belong to anyone. Wrong. He moved around the desk again, slowly, deliberately, until he was standing in front of me. Close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. You've been mine for 11 months. Mine to watch. Mine to want. Mine to dream about when I should be focusing on work. The only thing stopping me from making that official was the fact that you work for me. My breath caught. Stefano. Why were you with him? His hand came up, fingers sliding along my jaw. Tell me the truth. All of it. This is insane, my mind whispered. But his touch made thinking impossible. My brother. The words tumbled out. He has gambling debts. 80,000 euros. The loan shark gave him 3 weeks to pay, or, my voice broke. They beat him, Stefano. He came to my apartment covered in blood, and I didn't know how to help him. Something shifted in his expression. Rage giving way to something else. And Marco. He found out somehow. Offered to help if I'd give him a chance. I couldn't meet his eyes. I knew it was wrong. I didn't want to. But I was desperate and stupid and... Stefano's penthouse was everything I'd imagined and nothing I was prepared for. Private elevator that required a key card. Doors that opened directly into his space. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Milan. Minimalist furniture that screamed wealth and control. And silence. The kind of silence that came with being 30 floors above the city. Bedroom is through there, he said, gesturing to a door. Bathroom attached. The closet is empty. We'll fill it tomorrow. For tonight, you have what you brought. I'd packed 1 bag. Clothes for a few days. Toiletries. The photo of my brother that I kept on my nightstand. Make yourself comfortable, Stefano continued. I have calls to make. Dinner will arrive at 7. We're not. I couldn't finish the sentence. Not tonight. His hand came up, cupping my face. You've had a traumatic day. I fired you. Paid your brother's debt. Moved you into my home. You need time to process. That's very considerate. I'm not considerate. I'm possessive. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. But I'm not a monster. Tonight you sleep. Tomorrow, we negotiate the rest. He left me alone in his bedroom, and I stood there trying to process what had happened. This morning, I'd been his PA. Now I was, what? His mistress? His girlfriend? His possession? I explored the bedroom because I needed something to do with my hands. The bed was massive, covered in black silk sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The bathroom was marble and glass, shower big enough for 4 people. The closet was, as he'd said, empty except for his clothes on one side. He'd meant it. I was moving in. This wasn't temporary. My phone buzzed. My brother. Lucia? What the hell just happened? Some guy called and said my debt was paid, and if I ever gambled again, he'd break my legs. Who was that? My boss. Well, my former boss. Your boss paid 80,000 euros? Lucia, what did you agree to? I looked around the bedroom. At the bed I'd be sharing with Stefano Ricci. At the life I'd just traded my freedom for. Something insane, I admitted. But Marco, you're safe. That's what matters. Who's safe? Stefano's voice came from the doorway. I turned to find him leaning against the frame, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. Dangerous and beautiful and completely in control. I need to go, I told my brother. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up. Stefano moved into the room, his eyes on me. Your brother, he asked.
Yes.
He wanted to know who paid his debt. And what did you tell him? That my boss handled it. He thinks I made some kind of deal. You did. Stefano crossed to me, his hand finding my waist. You agreed to be mine. That's the deal. He means a different kind of deal. I know what he means. His hand slid up my spine. Do you regret it? Agreeing to this? I should say yes. Should tell him this was too fast, too much, too crazy. No, I whispered. I don't regret it.
Good.
He kissed me softly. Dinner's here. Come eat. Dinner was delivered by his private chef, because of course Stefano Ricci had a private chef. We ate at his dining table overlooking the city, and it felt surreal. 12 hours ago, I'd been his assistant. Now I was having dinner with him in his penthouse like this was normal. Tell me about your architecture degree, he said over wine that probably cost more than my car. How do you know about that? I know everything about you, Lucia. I've known since the day you interviewed. His eyes held mine across the table. You graduated top of your class. Had offers from 3 major firms.
Turned them all down to work as my PA. Why?
I needed money immediately. My brother's gambling had already started. I couldn't afford to take a junior position at an architecture firm making half what you were offering. So, you sacrificed your dream for him. He's my brother. He's all the family I have left. Not anymore. Stefano's hand reached across the table, covering mine. Now you have me. The words should have felt like a threat. Instead, they felt like a promise. After dinner, he showed me his office, a smaller version of his workspace, complete with multiple monitors and enough tech to run a small country. Then his gym, his wine cellar, his library filled with books on automotive design and Italian architecture. You have architecture books, I said, running my fingers along the spines. I bought them after you started working for me. He stood close behind me, his hand at my waist. Wanted to understand what you'd given up. My throat tightened. Why? Because everything about you fascinated me. Still does. His lips brushed my temple. Go to bed, Lucia. You're exhausted. I was. Emotionally destroyed. Terrified. But also strangely safe. I went to the bedroom, showered in his massive bathroom, and crawled into his bed wearing one of his t-shirts because I'd forgotten to pack pajamas. He appeared in the doorway an hour later, still dressed. I thought you were working, I said. I was. Now I'm going to bed. He started unbuttoning his shirt, and I realized we were sharing this bed. Tonight.
Right now.
Stefano. I'm not going to touch you. He continued undressing with efficient movements. But you're sleeping in my bed. In my arms. Get used to it. He slid into bed beside me, pulled me against his chest, and wrapped his arm around my waist. Sleep, he murmured against my hair. You're safe, Lucia. I promise. And somehow, wrapped in the arms of the man who'd fired me and claimed me and turned my life upside down, I believed him. I woke to sunlight and Stefano's hand on my waist. He was already awake, watching me with those dark, intense eyes.
Good morning, he said.
Morning. My voice was rough with sleep. We need to talk about what happens next. I sat up, pulling the sheets around me. Okay. First, your job. You can't be my PA anymore, but you have an architecture degree you've never used. I'm creating a position for you, design consultant for Ricci Industries. You'll work on the aesthetic integration of our vehicles. Good salary, your own office, benefits. I stared at him. You're creating a job for me? You're qualified. Overqualified, actually. And I'm not letting your degree go to waste. His hand found mine. This way, you're still in my building, still close, but not my subordinate. That's incredibly thoughtful. I take care of what's mine. His thumb brushed across my knuckles. Second, us. You live here now. In my space. In my bed. You attend events with me as my partner. And everyone knows you're under my protection. What does that mean exactly? Under your protection? It means anyone who threatens you answers to me. Anyone who hurts you answers to me. Anyone who even looks at you wrong answers to me. His eyes were intense on mine. You're mine, Lucia. That comes with certain benefits. Like having the resources of Ricci Industries at your disposal. Like security teams. Like money. Like me. His hand slid up to cup my face. I'm not a good man. I've done terrible things. But I protect what's mine with everything I have. And what do you get? I asked. What do I give you in exchange? Everything. His thumb brushed across my lower lip. Your time. Your attention. Your trust. Your body when you're ready. I want all of you, Lucia. Nothing held back. That's a lot to ask. I know. He leaned forward, his lips brushing mine. But I'm not asking. I'm telling you how this works. You agreed yesterday. Now we're negotiating terms. Those aren't negotiations. Those are demands. Yes. His smile was dark. I'm a demanding man. You'll get used to it. I should have been angry. Should have argued. But part of me, the part that had been drowning alone for 3 weeks, felt relieved. Okay, I whispered. Okay.
Yes. The job.
Living here. Being yours. My hands found his chest. All of it. His kiss was possessive, claiming. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were hot.
Good.
Because we're going shopping today. Filling that closet. Getting you everything you need. His hand slid possessively down my side. And tonight, I'm taking you to dinner. Somewhere public. Somewhere everyone can see that you're mine. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Stefano was true to his word. He created a position for me in the design department, gave me an office 3 floors down from his, and paid me twice what I'd made as his PA. But the real change was us. Every morning, I woke in his bed. Every night, I fell asleep in his arms. He was possessive, demanding, and surprisingly gentle. He wanted to know where I was every moment, who I talked to, what I was working on. It should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like safety. The office gossip was immediate and brutal. Stefano Ricci's former PA was now living with him, sleeping with him, had somehow gone from employee to partner in a matter of days. Let them talk, Stefano said when I mentioned it. They need to know you're under my protection. That touching you, bothering you, even speaking to you wrong has consequences. You're very possessive. Yes. He said it without apology. You're mine, Lucia. I don't hide what's mine. He proved it by taking me to every company event, his hand always at my waist. By having flowers delivered to my office every morning. By showing up at lunch with food from my favorite restaurants. You're spoiling me, I said one afternoon when he appeared with sushi. That's the point. He kissed me, right there in my office where anyone could see. Get used to it. But underneath the possessiveness and the spoiling, I noticed something else. Stefano was investigating Marco. I found the files on his desk one evening when I brought him coffee in his home office. Marco Benedetti. Financial records. Phone logs. Surveillance photos dating back 3 months. What is this? I asked. Stefano looked up from his computer, then at the files in my hand. His expression darkened. Research? On Marco? Why? Because something doesn't add up. He took the files from me, spread them on his desk. Your brother's debt was 80,000 euros, correct? Yes. But according to the loan shark's records, which I acquired, your brother originally borrowed 30,000. The rest is interest and fees. My stomach dropped. That's impossible. In 3 months, 30 became 80. Not impossible. Calculated. Stefano pulled up something on his computer. The loan shark works for the Corsetti family. Our rivals. And Marco has been making deposits to an account linked to that same family. I stared at the screen. What are you saying? I'm saying Marco didn't pursue you because he wanted you. He pursued you because someone paid him to. His jaw ticked. The debt was artificially inflated to trap you. Marco's job was to get close, either to access confidential information through you or to compromise you for blackmail. Horror washed over me. So none of it was real? He was using me? Yes. Stefano stood, moved around his desk to pull me into his arms. Which is why I fired him the moment I saw those photos. I suspected something was wrong. That's why I had you followed, to protect you, not just because I was jealous. You were jealous, though. Furiously. His hand slid into my hair. Seeing him touch you, seeing him try to kiss you. I wanted to kill him, Lucia. Still do. What are you going to do? His smile was cold. Handle it. The way I handle all threats to what's mine. 3 days later, Marco Benedetti disappeared. Not dead. Stefano wasn't that merciful. Just gone. His apartment emptied overnight. His bank accounts frozen. Every connection he had in Milan severed. And the loan shark, who targeted my brother? His operation was dismantled in a single night. Every penny he'd stolen from desperate people was returned. And a message was sent to the Corsetti family. Lucia Marino and her family were under Ricci protection. Anyone who threatened them would face consequences. You destroyed him, I said when Stefano told me. Completely. He tried to use you. To hurt you. To compromise you. His hand cupped my face. No one touches what's mine without consequences. You're terrifying. Yes. He kissed me softly. But only to people who threaten you. To you I'm mine, I finished. His smile was genuine warm.
Yes, exactly.
Mine. 6 months later, I stood in Stefano's office. The same office where he'd fired me, claimed me, changed everything, and looked at the photos on his desk. Not surveillance photos this time. Personal ones. Me at my drafting table in the design department. Me laughing at dinner. Me asleep in his bed, his arm around me. You're staring at those photos again, Stefano said from the doorway. I turned to find him watching me with that intensity that still made my breath catch. I'm remembering, I said. The morning you showed me the other photos. When you fired me. Best decision I ever made. He crossed to me, his hands finding my waist. Firing you. Claiming you. Making you mine. You don't regret it? The scandal? The gossip?
No.
He said it without hesitation. You're worth every moment of scandal. Every piece of gossip. Every raised eyebrow. I love you, I whispered. The first time I'd said it out loud. His eyes darkened. Say it again. I love you, Stefano. Good. He kissed me, possessive and claiming. Because I love you too. Have since the day you started working for me. Maybe before that. You loved me when I was your PA? Why do you think I went through 7 assistants before you? None of them were you. His hand slid into my hair. Then you walked in for that interview, and I knew. You were mine. I just had to wait for the right moment to make it official. Marco gave you that moment. Marco tried to take what was mine. He paid for it. Stefano's smile was dark. But yes. Seeing those photos, seeing him touch you, that's when I stopped being patient. I thought about that morning. About the photos. About Stefano's dangerously calm voice asking Marco, did I hire you to date my personal assistant? You were so angry, I said. I was murderous. His forehead pressed against mine. 11 months of watching you, wanting you, holding back because you worked for me. And then I discover someone else touching you? I wanted to destroy him. You did destroy him. Yes. He said it without remorse. And I do it again. You're mine, Lucia. No one touches what's mine. This is insane, I thought. This possessive, demanding, all-consuming love. But I wouldn't change a single thing. Marry me, Stefano said suddenly. I pulled back to stare at him. What? Marry me? He pulled a ring box from his pocket, like he'd just been carrying it around waiting. Make this permanent. Make this official. Let me call you my wife instead of just mine. You're not even asking. You're telling me. I'm done asking permission for what I want. He opened the box to reveal a stunning diamond that probably cost more than my car. I want you. Forever. Officially. Say yes. You're so demanding. Always. His smile was dark. So, is that a yes? I looked at this man who'd fired me to date me, who'd paid my brother's debt without blinking, who'd destroyed anyone who threatened me, who loved me with an intensity that should have been frightening but instead felt like home. Yes, I said. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring onto my finger, then kissed me with a thoroughness that left me breathless. Mine, he murmured against my lips. Yours, I agreed. Always yours. Standing there in his office, wearing his ring, surrounded by photos of our life together, I remembered that morning 6 months ago. The photos of me with Marco. Stefano's dangerous calm. The question that had changed everything. Did I hire you to date my personal assistant? The answer had been no. He'd hired Marco to manage accounts. Not to pursue me. Not to touch what belonged to Stefano. And when Marco had crossed that line, Stefano had destroyed him. Because that's what Stefano Ricci did. He protected what was his with everything he had. And I was his. Completely. Irrevocably. Forever. This is insane, I'd thought that morning. Now I thought, this is everything. And I wouldn't change a single thing.